Nexstar Media Group has announced it will end its preemption of Jimmy Kimmel Live, a move that now puts the late-night show back on the air nationwide across ABC affiliates as of Friday night. In a statement, the company said it had discussions with executives at the Walt Disney Company and praised Disney's constructive approach to addressing our concerns. Nexstar emphasized its role as a local broadcaster committed to protecting the First Amendment while producing and airing local and national news that is fact-based and unbiased and, above all, broadcasting content that is in the best interest of the communities we serve, positioning itself in contrast to cable television monolithic streaming services and national networks. The group said its decisions are rooted in a commitment and obligation to be stewards of the public airwaves and to protect and reflect the specific sensibilities of our communities. The company also sought to dispel speculation of political involvement, stating that its actions were independent of any external influence from government agencies or individuals. Nexstar's announcement came quickly on the heels of news that Sinclair, the other large station group that had been boycotting Kimmel, would also be returning the show to its affiliates. Kimmel returned to ABC earlier this week to record ratings, despite not being carried the 60-plus markets controlled by Nexstar and Sinclair. ABC is reported to have not made any concessions in negotiations with either company, which were both obligated to the terms of their carriage agreements with the network. In a stark demonstration of corporate leverage and the enduring power of contractual agreements, the two major broadcasting groups that attempted to silence Jimmy Kimmel have surrendered, ending a brief but intense blackout and fully restoring the late-night show to the national ABC lineup as of Friday night. The resolution came in a rapid one-two punch, with Nexstar Media Group announcing its decision to end its preemption of Jimmy Kimmel Live, swiftly followed by a similar announcement from the Sinclair Broadcast Group. The coordinated retreat marks a total victory for Kimmel and his corporate parent, the Walt Disney Company, and serves as a potent lesson on the limits of political posturing in the face of binding carriage contracts and cold economic calculus. Nexstar's announcement, delivered in a carefully worded corporate statement, attempted to frame the retreat as a principled consensus. The company revealed it had discussions with executives at the Walt Disney Company and pointedly praised Disney's constructive approach to addressing our concerns. This language, however, belies the reality reported by insiders, that Disney offered no substantive concessions, and instead simply held the station groups to the ironclad terms of their existing affiliate agreements. In an effort to reclaim the moral high ground, Nexstar's statement embarked on a lengthy justification of its core mission, emphasizing its role as a local broadcaster committed to protecting the First Amendment while producing and airing local and national news that is fact-based and unbiased, and above all, broadcasting content that is in the best interest of the communities we serve. The statement further drew a contrast between its localist philosophy and the content offered by cable television monolithic streaming services and national networks, positioning itself as a steward with a profound commitment and obligation to be stewards of the public airwaves. Perhaps the most scrutinized line in Nexstar's communiqué was its direct attempt to quell the widespread speculation about the blackout's origins. Our actions were independent of any external influence from government agencies or individuals. This claim is met with profound skepticism across media and political circles, as the boycott was widely perceived as a direct response to public pressure from FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr. Carr, a Trump appointee, had publicly called for stations to drop Kimmel's show, following a segment where the host mockingly critiqued Charlie Kirk, a prominent conservative activist. The underlying catalyst, however, is broadly understood to be the bitter animus former President Donald Trump holds for Kimmel, who has been a consistently sharp and vocal critic. The realpolitik of broadcast affiliations. The rapid collapse of the boycott reveals the harsh economic realities of the modern broadcast industry. While station groups like Nexstar and Sinclair present themselves as independent community stewards, their financial viability is inextricably linked to the programming supplied by national networks like ABC. According to analysts, the notion that these groups could sustain a long-term blackout of a network show was always a financial fantasy. This was a game of corporate chicken that the station groups were destined to lose, said Dr. Elena Mitchell, a professor of media economics at Columbia University. Local stations today are not the cash cows they once were. Their profit margins are slim, and the programming provided by ABC, from primetime dramas to morning shows, forms the backbone of their schedule. To replace it, they would have to venture into the expensive and ratings-poor syndication market, which would be a commercial bloodbath. The most potent weapon in Disney's arsenal, however, may not have been a nightly talk show, but live sports. ABC through Disney holds broadcast rights to the NFL, including the upcoming Super Bowl on February 8. The threat of losing access to this unparalleled audience magnet event that commands billions in advertising and defines national culture would have been an unthinkable risk for any station group to take. Kimmel emerges stronger than ever. The resolution arrives as a personal and professional vindication for Jimmy Kimmel. The host had returned to the air this week with a high-profile, star-studded week of broadcasts from the Brooklyn Academy of Music, his native borough. Demonstrating remarkable resilience, Kimmel addressed the blackout with a mix of wit and defiance, noting the irony of being censored in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., among other major markets. Crucially, the controversy did not dent his popularity, it amplified it. Despite being blacked out in over 60 markets controlled by Nexstar and Sinclair, Kimmel's return episodes delivered record ratings. The attempt to marginalize him had, paradoxically, turned his comeback into a must-see television event, strengthening his platform and embarrassing those who sought to silence him. Industry observers note that Disney's firm unyielding support for Kimmel was pivotal. Where other corporations have previously capitulated to political pressure campaigns, Disney stood firm, leveraging its contractual and market power to defend its talent and the principle of creative freedom. This stance not only protected a valuable asset but also sent a clear message to other would-be censors about the cost of such confrontations. For Nexstar and Sinclair, the episode concludes as a public relations and strategic debacle. Their statements, laden with talk of community sensibilities and the First Amendment, cannot fully erase the perception of a hastily planned, politically motivated maneuver that backfired spectacularly. They challenged a media titan and were reminded of the fundamental power dynamics that govern their industry. As Jimmy Kimmel Live resumes its broadcast without condition to every corner of the United States, the week's events have written a definitive new chapter. Kimmel emerges not just as a late-night comedian, but as a symbol of successful resistance against pressure campaigns, while the station groups are left with a stark lesson in the complex ecosystem of broadcast television. The network that holds the contracts and the NFL rights ultimately holds the power.